Experience the epic series that the world is watching and raving about. Catch up or relive the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, now on HBO On Demand, and watch back-to-back episodes anytime on your schedule. This year, join the Legion of Followers and enjoy past seasons of Game of Thrones, plus the premiere of Season 4 on April 6th on HBO. Don't miss out. Sign up for HBO and get free access to HBO On Demand.
Are salary increases on the way for members of Parliament? F&M Chairman Darren Cash back in court today. Another religious leader speaks on the Randy Fraser controversy, plus Bahamen takes the Bahamas to the world. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Monique Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the House Select Committee appointed last year has recommended that members of Parliament's salaries be reviewed, insisting that MPs haven't had a salary increase in over 20 years. The committee, chaired by Dr. Bernard Nottage, also recommended a pay raise for the Deputy Speaker, increases in certain allowances, and a grant for political parties represented in Parliament. Could members of Parliament soon receive salary increases? Well, the House Select Committee hopes action will be taken on MP salaries once a commission chaired by Justice Joseph Strawn has finished a review of their salaries and a report is tabled. Members of Parliament currently make $28,000 a year. Dr. Bernard Nottage, who chairs the House Select Committee, says MPs haven't received a salary increase since the 1988-1989 fiscal period. As a result, the 7-member committee, which comprises both government and opposition MPs, made this recommendation.
Your committee recommends that the salaries of members of Parliament be reviewed on the same principle as pertains to judges and other judicial officers. That is, that they are reviewed on a regular basis every 3 years by an independent body, and that this principle be established in law. Your committee recommends that the salaries of the government leader and that of the leader of the opposition business in the House also be referred to Justice Strawn's committee for consideration.
The committee also recommended a pay raise for the Deputy Speaker, whose salary is less than half of that of the House Speaker.
Your committee felt that the gap between the Speaker's salary, $80,000, and the Deputy Speaker's salary, $32,000, was too wide. The salary of the Deputy Speaker should be adjusted to reflect the responsibilities of the office and the fact that it required the occupant to forego his normal professional work.
It was also recommended that the salaries of the House of Assembly's clerk and deputy clerk be fixed at the permanent secretary and deputy permanent secretary levels. Meantime, MPs could also see their constituency office allowance nearly double from $1,500 a month to $2,500 a month. It's an issue Nottage says the committee spent a considerable amount of time discussing.
It was agreed that the $1,500 monthly allowance was insufficient for constituency officers. After paying staff, rent, utilities, and other recurrent commitments, the $1,500 could not cover those expenses.
The committee also recommended that the constituency allowance accessible to MPs for approved projects be fixed at $100,000. The committee is also of the view that all MPs receive duty allowances, not just cabinet ministers, and that their travel allowances be re-examined.
Members who represented multi-island constituencies should be permitted to travel to each island at least once per month and receive an allowance for up to 3 nights for each island. Members should be permitted to travel to constituencies other than their own at least once per month.
Political parties that are successful in winning seats weren't left out either. Members recommended that a grant should be made to every political party represented in the House of Assembly.
This is not a novel approach, as it was an accepted and long-standing practice in many parliaments. Political parties were essential components of parliamentary democracy, and it was in the interest of good government, democracy, and the parliament itself to assist political parties with their administrative costs.
Committee members also suggested that an MP's insurance coverage should include their spouse and should continue after their parliamentary service ends. Members also agreed that benefits awarded to former prime ministers and the opposition leader should be established in law. However, that 7-page report presented by the committee wasn't just limited to proposed salary and allowance increases. Dr. Nottage says members also agreed on the construction of a new parliamentary complex within this term.
Mr. Speaker, this subject was given substantial review by your committee. It was agreed that the present parliamentary complex was totally inadequate in many respects for a 21st century Bahamas. Recommendation: your committee recommends that a new parliamentary complex be constructed within this parliamentary term, that an open competition for the design of the new parliamentary complex be held.
The House Select Committee was appointed last year to make recommendations to the House on the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament, the allowances and benefits of parliamentarians, and the feasibility of the construction of a new parliamentary complex. Committee members are PLP MPs Nottage, Fred Mitchell, Renward Wells, and Cleola Hamilton, as well as F&M MPs Nico Grant, Hubert Chipman, and Theo Neely. All 7 members signed the document. Attorneys for F&M Chairman Darren Cash were back in court this morning, hammering out an agreement with the Attorney General's office. Lead attorney Carl Bethel revealed all parties have reached a harmonious agreement and his client is satisfied with the outcome. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
40 minutes after entering the justice's chambers, all parties emerged, and Cash's lawyer Carl Bethel revealed that an agreement had been arranged. Cash's legal team, that also includes Michael Folks, had commenced discussions with counsel for the Attorney General's office last week and returned to court today to finalize their agreement. On May 1st, police seized 2 laptop computers and a cellular smartphone belonging to Cash, reportedly as a part of an investigation into matters related to the Bank of the Bahamas. Cash's attorneys said items were physically grabbed from his hands and taken by the police, who refused to deliver or leave a copy of the search warrant with Mr. Cash, though police were not legally obligated to do so. Days after the seizure, Cash's legal team filed a constitutional motion, arguing that Cash's constitutional rights were violated. Outside court, Bethel did not go into detail about the agreement, but he said he and his client are satisfied with the outcome.
The parties in this matter, the party chairman, Mr. Darren Cash, the Attorney General, and the Commissioner of Police, as represented by their counsel, have arrived at an amicable resolution of this matter. One, which in the view of my client, vindicates his having brought this matter to court on the basis that his rights were violated. But which also acknowledges the right of the police to conduct a lawful investigation and in no way affects the proper constitutional operations of the police force in all other matters.
Bethel added that while the items that were seized were not returned, he is confident, based on the agreement reached, that his client's rights to privacy would not be violated.
We are absolutely satisfied that that no aspect of Mr. Cash's personal, business, or political information will in any way factor in the, let's say, researches of the police, except to the extent that any may be connected with the Bank of the Bahamas investigation.
The Free National Movement has repeatedly called what happened to the party's chairman a witch hunt. National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage released a statement and said that he was unaware that police had planned to execute a search warrant at Cash's home that day. Cash thanked his attorney outside court and says he feels that he has so far been vindicated.
I am happy that this phase is behind us, and I get back to the work of being chairman of the Free National Movement. In speaking to the issues that are important to the Bahamian people. This is clear vindication that the police overreached in their efforts to find out what has happened. As has been said before, if they had an interest in finding out what I know, I would have been more than happy to assist. being a public figure, I at all times support the work of the police and would encourage anyone to do so.
Meantime, Bethel says he doesn't believe they will be back in court for the matter.
Only if absolutely necessary would there be any further recourse to Senior Justice Isaacs.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
In crime news, police have arrested a 24-year-old man in connection with last week's murder in Mason's Addition. Acting on intelligence, officers from the flying squad visited Burial Ground Corner, where they arrested the resident of McCullough Corner. The victim, identified by police as 20-year-old Clarence Coakley, was shot in the head while sitting behind a house on Saxon's Way last week. Coakley was pronounced dead on the scene. Meantime, authorities on Exuma are investigating a traffic accident that left a 22-year-old man dead. Police say the victim was driving along Queens Highway in Farmers Hill in a white Honda Accord on Tuesday when he lost control of the vehicle and crashed into a utility pole. The victim was taken to a local clinic in critical condition, but later succumbed to his injuries. When NB12 returns, another religious leader speaks out on the Randy Fraser church controversy, so stay with us.